the live today really easily, which doesn't usually happen. I think maybe now I'm just getting the hang of doing this, so I'm just trying to find, there we go. Yes, we are live. I've got something, oh actually I might maybe move the camera along because I'm worried it's gonna focus on my, that's better, isn't it? So I discovered a different way of putting my phone in the phone stand, and it'll actually make things so much easier when doing the live. I don't know why I didn't think of it before, to be honest, but usually I put it in sort of, I don't know, I put it in funny, but then you can't actually see much of the screen, and I discovered you can actually, it does actually tilt the opposite way, and I can stand it flat and the whole screen is free. I just have to make sure that you can't see the actual clip and everything while I'm doing it. I'm just clipping my charger out the way, so sorry if there's a bit of movement there. Hi Joe. So I'll just wait for a few of you to join me. Hopefully we get some. Oh, hi Mum. There's a few of you joined already, which is good. So I am actually, as well as doing a demo, I am going to show very quickly a few of my samples for the newest launch. I thought I'd do them quickly on here. I've shared one photo. I will be sharing a few more throughout, you know, throughout the week or whatever, or coming weeks even. But I just thought it'd be nice to show them during the live and just talk a bit about them. Hi Shelley, hi Laura. So yeah, I'll pop that to the side. So this is actually what I'm roughly going to be doing today, but I'm going to pop that to the side for the moment, and I'll grab, actually we'll just do it one at a time. I might start with the bookcase. Now these are actually available in two different options. They're available in with an easel or a tripod. For all of mine, actually, I've used the tripod. I think this one is. I don't know. I really like this. But you can also get them with this bit. I haven't got one decorated, but I thought I'd just pull it out and show you really quickly. So I'll pop this out of the wood. So you can pop them together. Obviously you can paint it up and everything, and then you can sort of stand, it's really hard to see because you know, I'm sort of facing downwards, but you can stand them up sort of like, I think the kits are $7.99. I think I've got that right. I didn't actually check before going live. I think I remember seeing it though last time I was on the website. Laura, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I do have a habit of getting prices wrong. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they're $7.99. So yeah, with all of the kits, you have a choice between the easel or the tripod. So this is one of the bookshelves. For the background, I actually used a wood grain stamp, which I think was a I think that's a Stamperia stamp. I can't remember. Let me just get it because I know exactly where it is. How often can you go straight to a stamp? But I've literally got all my stamps like just behind me. So yeah, I use this wood grain stamp. So this is the from the Silent Sea collection. Really nice, I think, for adding you know, wood grain texture to the shelves. So I literally just painted it and stamped it. So I'll move on to the spring one. Now I can't remember the names of all these, so I do apologize. Oh, that's fine, Laura. I just said I think these are $7.99 a set, aren't they? I said do say if I've got that wrong. Hi Trisha, thank you for joining. So yeah, I said I can't remember the names of each of the bookshelves. I should have written them down, but it was a bit of a last minute decision to kind of show you these. But I'm sure Laura will put the links and everything up. So, but they are under the newly I can't think, new releases on the website, so it'll be one of the first things that come up. Yes, they are $7.99. I did get the price right for a change. So yeah, this is the spring collection. I decided to go for nice bright colours for this. I think you had to for spring, don't you? Again, I've got the easel, not the easel, the tripod version, the tripod stand. Now I will say, when you put this together, the little bit that's sort of inside here that you can't see, I just sanded the edge down a little bit, just to make it a little bit easier for it to stand up. But again, that's available in both options, with the tripod or the easel. And this one I love, a little wedding one. Of course, I had to go pink, bright pink, you know, different shades of pinks. Yeah, I think this was probably one of my favourites, along with the one with the chair, which I'm going to pull out in a minute. I added a little bit of gloss here to the bottle and the glass. But yeah, and there's also some little gold features on it. I use that Pentart wax. Wax paste. No, it's not paste, is it? What's it called, for goodness sake? Again, I've got it right here somewhere. I've used it before a lot in my lives. I love using it. I think it's great just for adding little sort of gold and silver. There's all different colours. You can get gold, silver, red, I think green. I now have a few in the collection, so I'm slowly building up on them ones. But yeah, so that's that one. So I think that one's really sweet. And this one, again, has to be one of my favourites. The bookworm. I don't know if that's what it's called on the website. But I loved this. I did add this little piece here. This little block doesn't actually come with this kit. This was one of the, you know, it's from the Dominoes set. I can't remember what it's called. Is it Inches, Twinches and Dominoes or something like that? So it was an MDF domino piece that I just painted. And again, I've used the little wood grain. I thought it, you know, little coffee table. And I used some gold paint on the chair as little studs. I said I think this one and the wedding one is probably my favourite out of this collection. But they're all on the website now. They were released last week. And again, I said they were all under the tripod or the easel. Anyway, I'm going to move on. Let me pop these right out of the way now, because otherwise they're going to get in my way. Because I always end up in such a mess. While I'm making, I'll probably end up going flying in a minute. Right, so as I said at the beginning, I'm going to be doing this card, and I'm going to be playing with some drawing gum today, some PBO drawing gum. I love this stuff. I think it's great if you want to create sort of layers on a card, and you know, and you don't want to sort of build them up by adding, you know, sticking pieces of card and stuff down. You'll have to excuse me. I've actually had a migraine this morning, and I've taken some tablets, and they can make me feel a bit woozy. So if I don't get my words out, that is why. But yeah, so yeah, rather than sort of sticking pieces of card down, because I mean, you could, in theory, if you wanted to, stamp these out and cut them out and stick them down and create layers that way, which, you know, it does look lovely when that's done. But sometimes if you're sending them in the post, it can get quite expensive, you know, one, because of the weight, also two, the thickness obviously does count, because you'd have to send, if you started adding layers and building them up and making them 3D and everything, you'd have to send it really as a large, and it does get quite costly. So I love being able to, you know, use the drawing gum, stamp the main focal image and then create the background around it. But also you can then stamp, like what I'm going to do here. I overlapped the leaves here, so you can do that. Now I will probably, throughout this live, I will call this masking fluid. It's what I've always called it, but the official name for it is drawing gum. But yeah, I've just always called it that. So yeah, I'm going to be using this, but it is one of my favorite products to use. So I use it so much. I think most of the cards where I create backgrounds and stuff, I do use it. I don't know why I've not used it in a live yet. Right, so I'm going to use, of course, I had to use the tulips. Because obviously all the spring flowers are now starting to appear. I haven't quite got all my daffs out yet. I'm still waiting for some of my daffs to come out in the garden. But yeah, I really wanted to use the tulip stamp. Now last year I think I just used this to death. I just love that tulip. And it's also great. Mother's Day is coming up and I'm actually going to turn this into a Mother's Day card. But yeah, it's great for Mother's Day, great for birthdays. So yeah, I'm going to be using that. So let's pour this out. I'm just going to have a sip of drink, sorry. Right, so I'm going to start by using this little bent leaf. I stick that down. Right, I've actually already stamped out. I'll come to this properly in a little while and I'll tell you what stamps and everything I've used to it, but I have already done a bit of preparation because as I said, I do want to do a Mother's Day card. I have already stamped a Happy Mother's Day sentiment out and cut it out. I will come to it a bit more in a little while, but I'm just going to place that down just because I want to use it as a guide so that I've definitely got enough space to pop that. So that when I stamp it, I can leave enough room for that sentiment to go in that area. Right, sorry, just moving them out of the way. Right, so I'm going to go in with my Nocturne Versafine Clair and ink that up. And I've just got ink all over my mat, which I'm going to get my stamp block, which I'm just going to get rid of. So, and then I'm going to stamp it probably, oh, I've just dropped the stamp. That wasn't very clever, was it? I'll go for about there. I'm kind of hoping that that sort of covers up where I just dropped it because it did leave a mark. So when you're doing it, try not to drop the stamp. I'm just pushing down there on that just to let that ink soak in a little. That's lucky. Luckily, it just looks like a little bit of shading there, which is good. What I will do is probably remove, because I am going to emboss this, I am going to remove the embossing powder from that section, just because I don't really want it embossed and ruining the colouring in. Right, so I'm just going to grab a dry brush and I'm just going to remove that powder from that area I said where I dropped the stamp and it touched you know, got some ink where I didn't want it. There we go. I said hopefully it will just look a little bit like shading on the stamp. Tulips are perfect for Mother's Day. They certainly are. I'm a bit obsessed with tulips. I do like nice tulip. As I said, I think I used this stamp to death last year, and I'll be doing it again. It's such a pretty spring flower. I should have said there, sorry, I used the Wow Ultrafine Clear embossing powder. on this, and I'm just now heating it up with the heat gun. Now I do prefer to emboss my images. Obviously you don't have to. I would recommend, probably if you are going for a watery background and using the masking fluid, I would recommend embossing, because sometimes the ink can still run underneath it. Right, I'm just going to clean this stamp and then pop that away. And then I'm going to put the lid on that before I make a mess. So I'm now going to grab my masking fluid. Now when using this, I do recommend using a synthetic brush, because you will find that your brushes go a little bit funny. I don't know if you can see on that one, it's kind of that this is a synthetic brush. I'm just trying to hold it up so that you can, I don't know if you'll see it. I don't know what's the best way to hold it. You can just about see there. It's very you know, flared out and everything. It's just how they go. So yeah, but if you use sort of decent brushes, and you know, like these, I can't think what they're made out of, like a brush like this, it would stick to it and it would ruin your brush. So make sure you've sort of got a synthetic one or an old brush that you're not too worried about. Now somebody did say to me, when storing this, store it upside down, because it prevents the air getting into it, which I've always done since then, because otherwise you can get like, well, I think I've had it out for the last few hours, but you get like little bits like that forming, and you don't really want that. So yeah, I tend to store it upside down now. Now when applying this, you do need to make sure that you stay within the lines. If you take it outside the line, any background that you do will you will end up with like a halo outside, you know, outside your stamping. And really you just want a nice thin layer. You don't want it too thick, because otherwise it will tear your card. I might go in there with a thinner brush and just add a bit there. And I think I'll do the thinner brush for this little area here. I'm going to pop that on for a minute because I have a habit of knocking things over. And I definitely don't want to do that. Right, I'm now going to dry this off a little bit before I do anything else. Obviously, you could leave it to dry naturally for a minute. It doesn't take long to dry, but you don't want to be stamping on top of it or inking on top of it while it's still wet, because it obviously will ruin your project. Right, so I think that's dried off now. And we'll grab our second leaf. So I'm going to use this long leaf now. And I'm just inking it up with some black ink again. And I'm going to stamp it so it's overlapping what I've just stamped. So actually I'll bring it in a fraction. So I think we'll go about there. So you can see it is kind of overlapping that area there. Give that a clean up. And pop that back. Right, I'm going to grab my paper again and I'm just going to emboss that. Unfortunately, it is, you know, if you are creating sort of layers, it is a bit time consuming, you know, keep stamping, embossing everything, but it is sort of worth it to be honest, the type of background that I am doing, you could probably get away with not doing it, not embossing it, but I just prefer to emboss. Now I've tried to avoid getting too much powder on that inky area, like where it's overlapping. So what I will do is probably wipe that ink off in just a moment. I'll show you that once this is embossed. There we go. Now I'm just going to grab a piece of kitchen roll. I've got some here, and I'm just going to dab that off, just because I'll probably smudge it. And also when you're removing it as well, now don't drag it because you will pull it off. So I'm literally just dabbing as much as you can off. So it's just because I'm a bit of a messy crafter, I'll probably end up smudging that. And also when it comes to removing the masking fluid, you don't really want to smudge that. So I'm going in again, and I'm going to apply the masking fluid to this piece now. Now just be careful when you're overlapping layers like this. Masking fluid does sort of, you can sort of, if you go over it too much, you could pull off what you've already put up, you know, already done on that layer there. Nearly knocked that pot over. I would not have been happy. Let's just turn it around and do this side. Like I said, I'm trying to be careful not to go over the edges, but occasionally it does happen. So, and again, I think I'll just grab that and go over the tip with a fine brush. Here we go. I'm just trying to remove some of the masking fluid there in between use. Right, now we're going to stamp the heads, the tulip heads. And where's my ink? And then I'm just going to hold it to the side. I'm a bit of a side stamper. I prefer to do things on the side when I'm working. So I think we'll go about there. Trying to be really good and putting my stamps away as I'm using them, because I said otherwise I just end up in a right mess. Right, and you're going to now emboss this one. Sorry, it probably gets a little bit boring with keep embossing everything in between, but luckily it doesn't take too long to do. My heat gun seems to be wavering a little bit. I think I'm going to have to give in and get a new one soon. I've had it for so many years and I use it so much. It's good to see the process. So that's really good. Like I said, it does get a bit sort of boring, sort of, you know, probably if you are watching, sort of doing all the layers. But yeah, I think it's great, this stuff, because you can just keep overlapping things, you know, and you could actually build like a whole, I don't know, there's some flower stamps, isn't there, that you could build like a almost like a wreath with and keep adding all the layers. It's quite amazing what you can do with the masking fluid. I love this stuff. So I'm using the smaller tulip head here, and what I will do is sort of draw the stem in. I'll do it that way. So I think we'll stamp that about there. There we go. Pop that away now. So that's all the flowers sort of stamped really. I'm just going to emboss that one now. See if I can do it without the paper. No, I think I'm going to put it on the paper because I will spill it everywhere, and especially as I'm live, it will end up everywhere knowing me. Oh, I'm glad it's not boring. Right, so I'm just now embossing this one. I will probably try and use this a bit more during the lives, just because I think, you know, I'm not like I often like to do whole collage backgrounds and things, and that would probably be much better to show on a collage background. I will be doing some stamping in the background for this. Sorry, I'm just trying to find my pen. There it is. Actually, I might draw the pencil line in first. So I'm just using a pencil just to draw that stem in. But yeah, I mean, you can go absolutely to town on sort of, you know, stamping in the background once your masking fluid is on. It is brilliant stuff. So I'm just drawing that line in to meet up with the other flower. So this is one of the micron pens. This is size 4. These are my sort of go-to black fine liner pens. They are brilliant. Yeah, they're really good. You can watercolor with them and everything. They're just great. Right, just to sort of make it fit in, I'm just going to do a sort of couple of extra lines here, because there's sort of one up here, isn't there? So just to make it sort of all tie into each other. I'm just going to dry that off a fraction, just because I don't want that to run now underneath my masking fluid. And what I'm going to do is try and dab off. No, I think I must have embossed that ink, which is fine. What was I going to do? Masking fluid. So I'm bringing that back out again because I need to apply the masking fluid now to the flower heads. And again, just try and stay within them lines. I often find that if I do go out, I do sometimes use like a colouring pencil that's sort of the same colour just to fill the lines in. I'll actually show you on the other card. To colour it, I'm going to be using the Tim Holtz watercolour pencils. My new obsession, I have to say, which is great if you're using those inks in the background, because obviously they're the same colour, so you can match them up quite nicely. But I have done it before now, where I've just used sort of a colouring pencil just to fill the line in. I'm just going to turn that round so I can get in that last little bit. If you do find, if you're working on a large surface area like what we're doing here, try to make sure as well that it is completely filled in. Because if you're doing sort of, if you were to do like you know, inking on your mat and then spraying it and smooching it in, you'll find that you will end up with like streaks. If you have got areas where you haven't got the masking fluid, you'll end up with streaks of colour where you've missed it. I'm just going in with my thinner brush now just to do the stems. Or perhaps try and do like that sort of technique in another demo. Right, so that's now the masking fluid on. I'm just going to stick those brushes in my pot of water there now. So to remove it off the brush, stick it in some water and then rub it in your fingers, and it will sort of rub off. Right, I'm just going to dry this off. There we go. And now what I think I'll do, now on this one, I actually used cracked pistachio, but I might do this one a little bit different and I might use a blue tone. So I think I'm actually going to go for peacock feathers. So bright, I know, but it's a nice bright spring card, so I think you can get away with using nice bright colours. Right, so I'm going to use my blending brush. Now, when you are doing this, if you're applying it, sort of using the blending brushes over the masking fluid, just be really careful that you don't rub it off. Because to remove this, you only really do have to sort of rub and peel. So you don't want to rub too hard because you will rub the masking fluid off, which you really don't want to do. So I hope that I haven't got a darker colour on there. I probably have. Now I'm not going to cover the entire card blue. I would quite like some white space sort of around the edges. So I'm just going to bring that out as much as I can. Haven't blended that very well at all, have I? Because I've just gone straight in. I should have dabbed some off, but never mind. Haven't used these brushes for a while. I thought I'd come back to using these ones. So I'm just going to try and blend that in a bit. So here where I'm going in between those stems and everything, I'm just going quite lightly in there. So as I said, I really don't want to rub that masking fluid off. So just trying to blend it out as well to the edges a little bit, so it's sort of light around the edges, and I said going into that sort of white space, which I haven't done at all around that top tulip, but that's fine because that tulip does come up quite a bit. So, and again, I'm not too worried about having too much white space here just because it is quite close to the edge. Right, I think we'll add, I'm going to pick some more of this ink up and just bring it out here a little bit because it is a bit too white there. And we'll do a bit more around this base here. So obviously all the time, I know the masking fluid is actually blue, so it's probably quite hard to tell at the moment. But underneath that tulip will be just completely white, hopefully. Right, so now I've done that peacock feathers, I'm going to bring in some wilted violet. Now for this, I'm just going to go round sort of the edge of the tulip. I don't really want to bring it in too far. You could use, if you've got a nice fine blending brush, you could sort of use that, but I'm just going to sort of use the tip of this one. Now it's quite good actually, because I can show you what I mean here. So I have come outside the lines there. I don't know if you can see it, there's quite a delay. Let me hold it up a bit more. I don't know if it will focus. There you go. You can probably just about see it. You'll probably see it more, slightly better once I've done all the purple and once I've removed the masking fluid. But I will, on this project, show you how to sort of get around that. I tend not to peel it back when I'm sort of still working. Just because you could peel the sort of the whole lot off, and you don't really want to do that. Move that out of the way. As I said, I'm literally just going around all the flowers. So I'm really not putting a lot of pressure on, because I really don't want to pull that fluid off. This is why I've gone back to using these for this, because they're such lovely soft bristles, these blending brushes. And they don't tend to pull the masking fluid off. I think the ones that you've probably seen me use on previous lives, the bristles are quite hard on that. And obviously you risk sort of pulling it all off. Right, let's go around those leaves now. I have done this sort of going round with pencil in the past, but I really wanted to just use distress inks on this rather than sort of going into the pencils and blending it out. Plus I think using the distress inks, it gives such a nice blend, you know, into the blue. Last little bit now. Right, and I think that's about the whole edge covered. So pop my inks to the side now. I will probably come back and use them in just a minute. Now what I'm going to do is grab this set. Do you know, this set has given me the real runaround today, because I knew I had it. But so I've got a box with all my That's Crafty stamps in, and it wasn't in there. I just completely lost it. I had everything out. Now I did originally have these in a drawer. Sorry, I should have said what this one was. So this is Flowers Collection Stamp Set 3, designed by Melina Dahl. Yeah, I did originally have them in a drawer. And I moved them into this box because then I thought it's handy. I can just sort of keep moving it about where I want it. I could not find it anywhere. I had all the drawer out that they were in, looked all behind the drawer, just weren't in there. So I hate losing things, and it wasn't even like it's one little stamp, it was a whole set. But yeah, I found it, slid down the side of one of my cabinets. I have no idea how it got there, but I'm just glad that I found it, because literally I knew I wanted to use it, and I think it was about an hour before the live, and yeah, I managed to find it. Black ink, right, got distracted then. So again, I'm just going in with black ink, and I'm going to stamp this down the side here. Now I am just going to stamp straight over the tulip. This is the joy with the masking fluid, you know, you can just go to town with stamping now in the background. What I will say though is just be very careful that you don't smudge any of this ink that's on there, because I said I do have a habit of doing that. Now for this top bit, I'm not going to stamp it all the way down. I'm sort of bending my block a little bit, just so it sort of partly joins up with that other line. There we go. And then I'm going to stamp along the bottom here. Actually, I might turn it round so I've got that thicker piece over this side. Right, let's clean that up. I love this texture piece on this set. Again, I've used it quite a lot, I think. Well, I haven't used it for about a year, but I know last year I used it an awful lot. Let's put that back in there. And then I'm going to just grab my piece of kitchen roll again, and I'm just going to dab that ink off the masking fluid. So I'm just sort of dabbing it a little bit and dragging, not too much, because again, you definitely don't want to pull that fluid off just yet. But it's just so that I don't make a mess on the rest of the card, and also it's just easier when it comes to removing the masking fluid. Right, now I'm going to grab the little crackle stamp. So this is Textures Stamp Set 2. I love this set. Now I'm not going to even mount it. I think mine's lost its stickiness a little bit because I tend not to mount this crackle. I just sort of hold it in my hand and go to town with it, you know, that way. So I'm going to stamp in some peacock feathers. Hopefully we'll be able to see it through the yes. I was a bit worried. Sometimes when you're inking the background and then you want to stamp in the same colour, sometimes you don't always see it, do you? But yeah, luckily. So I'm just stamping over the tulips so that it can be seen through the back. Add a bit more there. Now the joy with this crackle is you can keep stamping on top of it to join it. You know, it doesn't matter if you stamp over. I'm just going to fill in now those sort of little areas there. There we go. So there I didn't even add any more ink. I've just kept going in and stamping with whatever was on my my stamp. Let's put that away so I don't lose it. And again, I'm just going to wipe off that excess ink, because now is sort of the fun bit. Now, when removing this, I have found the best way to remove this one That's a really nice crackle. It is a lovely crackle. There's actually 2 different crackles on that set. There's a really nice fine one, and then this one that's, the gaps are a bit more sort of open. I actually love both of them. They're lovely. Yeah, so when removing this, now different brands I think work slightly differently. So I think the best way to remove this one is to peel and stretch. So don't necessarily go in and rub it all off. Sorry, I keep seeing like bits of ink that I want to remove. Now I've got a glue eraser here. What I am going to do is just pull back a small amount of it. So I'm just going to rub it so that it's sort of curled up. You're never going to see this on the camera, so I do apologise. But it's sort of rolled the masking fluid up a little bit, and it's just enough for me to grab with my nail. And then I'm literally, I don't know how well you're going to see this. I'll try and hold it up so you can see it a bit better. I'm literally stretching this out. I'm not sort of rubbing it, I'm just stretching and sort of peeling it back. I might have to put it down to sort of do it properly, but you can kind of see, at least you can see what I'm sort of doing there. So I'm just going to keep going and keep peeling as much as that, or stretching as much of that off as I can. And it comes off like in little balls of rubber. And again, just keep pinching little bits. And if you lose a bit and you can't pinch it, just use your little glue eraser, or you can use your finger just to rub and sort of pull it back. But I've found that this is the best way to remove this brand. Oh, I can't get that bit. You might find that there are some small areas that you do need to rub off, but generally sort of large areas I do recommend sort of stretching it out like I was. So again, I'm just trying to make it roll up a little bit there so that I can then stretch and pull it off. Ooh. It's like removing glue. Do you remember sort of being at school and removing glue, like PVA glue off of stuff? Sort of reminds me of that a little bit. There's a little bit there that has missed, so I'm going to just use the glue eraser on that. That bit's not rolling up like I want it to. So sometimes you can get it in nice big sections to sort of come off. Other times you need to sort of work at it a little bit more. So this piece doesn't want to come off in a hole. There we go. And let's do those stems. There we go. Sometimes you can catch it with the glue eraser and pull it all off. Now you can probably see a little bit better there that on the areas that I've missed. Where I've gone over the line, but I said I will show you how to fill that in a minute. Now you'll notice I'm actually pulling it sort of in that direction. I'm not pulling it in the direction that I want the masking fluid to come off in. I find if you do that again, you do sort of risk tearing the card. I'm just going to use the glue eraser to remove that little bit there. And finally, the last flower. So I would say don't rush when you're removing this either, just, you know, just do it nice and slow. Right, so that's all the masking fluid off. I said you can probably see those areas where I've missed. So there's a bit here and a bit there. But again, I said I'm not too worried because I will just colour them in a minute. Now, I'm going to use my, these are really new to me and they're my new obsession. The Tim Holtz Watercolour Distress pencils. Sorry, I'm just having a sip of drink. I think I've been on at Mum about these for the last couple of days, about how excited I am about these. I have actually just ordered some more colours. So hopefully I can have a bit more of a play with them in future lives. But yeah, I'm totally obsessed with them. And I think I'm quite surprised at how much you can do with these. I have to say, I actually watched Tim Holtz's video using these. I think it was from about 3 years ago. But I wanted to watch it because I sort of thought that knowing him, there's some magical science about using them. And there is. They're quite, yeah, I love them. There's a lot, you can do a lot more with these than I think normal watercolour pencils that I've had in the past. And I can't wait to sort of, you know, dive right in and have a sort of real play with them. They are highly pigmented, and something that I learned, you can actually use them on top of distress inks and oxides, and they work really well. But also they work lovely on craft cards. So if you were stamping on craft card and colouring it, they apparently work really well on that. So I'm going to have to give that a try at some point. Right, so I'm going to be using, so this is set 1. I should have said that. Said I have actually just ordered set 2 and set 3, and I can't wait for them to come to have a proper play. But this, I mean, he actually said in his video that he designed the set so that there's a nice mix of colours in each set, so that if you just want to buy one set and try it, you know, you've got a mix. I mean, there is, you know, there's a green, a yellow, a pink, there's a red fired brick, there's blues, browns, black. So there is a bit of a mix of everything. There's a good, you know, starting range of colours there. But yeah, they are great. I was a bit sort of scared about using them, I think, because they are woodless, but they colour beautifully. And what I think, the thing that I really like about them is they are the same colour as the inks and oxides. So you sort of know, you know what you're getting with them. And I suppose for me, I can think, you know, I could look at something and think, oh yeah, I want picked raspberry for that, or you know, or speckled egg or whatever. And it can be, you know, you can do a background and you can then colour your image the same sort of colour scheme as these. So yeah, I'm obsessed with them. But yeah, so I'm just colouring in with the yellow first. I'm being quite rough. I'm not, because they are sort of watercolour, and they are very intense watercolours as well. Because I think something he said in his video is he kept saying they are very highly pigmented, and they really are. So yeah, I've been quite sort of loose with the colouring there. I'm just going to add some yellow into the leaf. Don't worry, it's not going to look quite so yellow once I start adding the green in. Let's do the green now, actually. So I'm just adding the darker sort of shade around the edge and sort of lightening as I'm coming into that yellow. I think as well, the joy of these is, if apparently, because they do work on top of the inks and oxides, if you have got a piece where you did, you know, you didn't cover the leaf quite properly in masking fluid, you know, you can just use these on top and they will work quite well. So that's the green done. I'm going to go in with, this is picked raspberry. So with these as well, I will say now, you can use wet or dry. So I'm using them dry at the moment, but you can actually wet these and then go in and use them. And they are very, very intense when you do that. But they do look lovely. I will also be showing him something, another way of using them in just a moment. Right, so I think we're more or less coloured there. So I'm now just going to use my paintbrush. Now I'm going to go in with the lighter colour first and just apply the water to that area. And then I'm going to go in with the darker, I should have dabbed that off. Go in with that darker colour. And I'm going to let the sort of water run into that yellow. I have, my brush is quite watery there, and I said I sort of want the colours to run in to each other quite nicely. So, and then I'm running my brush over them two colours to sort of blend them in together. I shouldn't really use my hand as a wipe, but I often do. It's really bad, isn't it? I've got little bits of masking fluid dotted everywhere. So again, I'm letting that pink sort of nicely run into that yellow. And then I'm going to work on this green. Actually, I'm going to use the yellow first here. Again, and then work that green in. And let that green run into the yellow. Now you can see those colours are really lovely and intense. They're such lovely bright colours once you've used them. You can sharpen these as well. Again, I was a bit scared of sort of when I first got them, I thought, how am I going to sharpen them? But apparently you've just got to find the right sharpener to fit them, and you then just sharpen them like a normal pencil. You can either peel the paper back first and then sharpen them, or leave it in. But any sharpenings that you do, if you do sharpen them, any of the little bits that you've got from sharpening them, you can actually use on, say, a background. You know, you can wet it down and use it in a background, or even use it sort of separately to paint. Now I'm going to grab a small brush here. Now, as I said, you can use these wet. Now you can actually dip them into a water pot, and it doesn't change the colour of the water. I'm not actually going to show you that at the moment because my water pot is quite messy and horrible. So I'll probably show you, I'll probably get a water pot during another live and show you that. But I thought it was quite amazing that he just dipped it in and the colour didn't run everywhere. But what you can do, I am just going to dip it in just to wet them. And then I'm going to take my brush. What have I got stuck to that? And I'm going to pick some of the ink off there. And I'm going to go in and just add some sort of streaks. Now you could sort of go in straight on there, but I want the streaks quite fine, so I'm just using a brush here. And then to dry them off, you can either just leave them to dry naturally, or use a paper towel. I'm just going to leave mine to dry naturally because I don't want to, you know, wipe too much of the pigment away. But yeah, I'm completely obsessed with these now. I think I'll be using these a lot. I said what I think I like about them most is that they match the, you know, they are the same colours as the inks and the oxides. Oh, actually, I'm going to go in and add some pink here, I think. I'm liking the look of those pencils. They are lovely. I said you're probably sick of hearing me talking about them now. I have gone on at Mum about them. It's a bit too much colour there, so I'm just going to water it down, and you can sort of take some of that colour away because that was very intense. And again up here, got it on that top piece, but it doesn't really matter too much. Like I said, I'm going to let that dry naturally. I'm not going to wipe it off or anything. What I'm going to do is just dry that off. Now, I said with this little bit here that I've missed, what I'm just going to do now, if I did have the right colour, because on this I've used Wilted Violet. I haven't got the Wilted Violet pencil just yet. I don't know if it's in one of the sets that I have ordered. Hopefully it is. Those colours look so vibrant, beautiful. Honestly, Trisha, I can't tell you. I just love these. I think I'm a bit of a sucker for trying sort of different mediums and different pens, and as soon as you see a different pen come out, it's like, oh, I've got to try it. I know these have been out for some time, and I'm not gonna lie, they are, I think they're $24.99 a set, which is a bit scary because you do sort of get 12 in a set, but honestly, they are so much fun. I love them. I'm definitely going to be using them quite a lot. So yeah, as I said, if I did have the same colour, I would use that. But at the moment I don't. So I've got Villainous Potion here. What I am going to just do is just, you know what, I don't know if there's going to be, yeah. So I'm just going to cover that mark up where I didn't have any anything. Do you know what? I think I've got an inky splodge there where I've flicked the brush, which is rather annoying. I do wonder, do you know what? I might disguise that by adding a few more splodges. I'm going to grab my fan brush. Where is it? Just grabbing my fan brush. As I said, I've obviously got some water here and it's sort of taken, you know, with distress inks, you can flick the water and take it away. I'm going to sort of go with that. And I've got my fan brush here and I am just going to add some more inky splodges because why not? Then it's not going to, it's going to look like it's intentional, isn't it? I think sometimes that's a great thing about crafting. You can disguise things when you mess up. Right, so I'm going to grab my tissue now and pull that off. I tell you what else I did like about these pencils. What he did do, because the background that he did was very dark, and then he coloured over the distress inks with the pencils. To lighten the background, he sprayed it with water, got a paper towel. This is after he'd coloured with the pencils. Got a paper towel and lifted some of the background colour up. But what he'd done with the pencils stayed put. Now he didn't pull any of that ink off, which I thought was quite amazing. Right, so I'm just dabbing as much of that off. So you can kind of see I've now got some white splodges on there. I'm going to dry that off. So that splodge that I got on, it looks a little bit more like it's supposed to be there. even though it wasn't. Right, now I said as it's Mother's Day, I'm going to turn this into a Mother's Day card. I don't know if that's dry enough. I'm going to pop it away anyway, very carefully. Yeah, so I wanted a Mother's Day sentiment, and to do that I've used these fabulous alphabet stamps. Now, because I didn't want to bore you too much, you know, stamping out each of the letters to form Happy Mother's Day, I thought I'd do a little bit of prep. So I have already done that. I will stamp out the word mum because I'm thinking I'd quite like the word mum on there at the top. So I might put this sort of down here. And then I'll just kind of show you. And then I might have mum maybe up here. So I am going to stamp the word mum out. I really like this set. I think it's actually a really lovely font. And you get capitals, lowers, you get your numbers, and then all your little punctuation marks. They are brilliant and they are easy to use. I'm probably going to end up messing this up and not stamping it straight, but you know, they are quite easy to stamp straight because they are clear. So yeah, they're really lovely. They'd been on my list to get for some time. Now I've got a piece of card here. Let's use this bit actually. I'm hoping that I can stamp it nice and straight. I might end up going off camera slightly because I want to make sure it is straight, and obviously I've got the camera above me, so it is quite hard leaning over and not bumping my head on the camera. Now I'm going to use all caps for this. I'm actually going to start with the letter U in the middle, just because then I can just stamp the M's either side of it and haven't got to keep putting them away and getting them back out again. So I'm just going to grab my black ink again. I'm quite surprised that I've managed to get through the whole live and not lose that Happy Mother's Day sentiment that I'd stamped out, because I do have a habit of, as you know, losing things. Right, I am going to pull this down a little bit. I do apologise. I'm going to stamp it towards the end. All right, hopefully I can stamp it somewhat central. I said just because it is live, you can probably guarantee that I won't. So I do recommend using a stamping block with lines on them, just because it's then a little bit easier. Now I am going to have to bring this down a fraction. I still can't see very well. Let's just hope. Oh, we're somewhat straight. Last letter now. Probably end up messing it up here. Ooh. Oh, look. I managed to do it, and it is relatively straight, that. I'm quite surprised. I said usually when you do things live, it ends up going very wrong, doesn't it? But right, I'm now just going to snip that out. So I've got my scissors. I'm not going to bother pulling out my trimmer just to trim those lines down. So I'm just going to snip them off. Put them to the side. So that can sort of go up there. I am going to probably do some like doodled lines around it just to make it sort of pop out a little bit. I'm going to grab my tweezers and my glue. I didn't think to prepare that and get that out. Oh, there it is. Now, I'm hoping this is going to play, not play up for me today, because the last few times I've gone to use it, I have actually just ordered some more applicators, because I keep taking the top off I've had mine, again, so many years, and I keep taking the top of it to unblock it, because I have a really bad habit of leaving the pin out of it. and then it gets clogged, and yeah. So I have just ordered some more of the applicators from That's Crafty. So I'm just holding it up to make sure that that's somewhat straight. And again, let's go down here. I guess really you could sort of stick them on the wonk if you wanted to. That's actually very popular at the moment, isn't it? Sticking things down wonky. I'm going to try and attempt to stick them down straight. Oh, are we clogged? So this is the That's Crafty glue in this. I forgot to say that. Oh, just moved it. But yeah, I do recommend these fine tip applicators. I use mine for sticking everything down, like even the whole card base piece, because I just find that you get a nice sort of, well, when it doesn't clog anyway, you get a nice even sort of glue over your card. It doesn't sort of blotch out and stuff so much. Right, I think, is that about straight? I think that'll do. Right, what I'm now going to do is just to make that sort of pop out a little bit. Obviously, if you did want to, you could mount those pieces onto, say, black card or something. I'm not going to, because I said I think sometimes you keep adding layers of card and it all adds to weight if you're posting things. So I'm just keeping it, you know, sort of one layer as much as I can. Now I'm just going to do a bit of a doodled line around this. I suppose really it sort of ties in quite nice with this border. So I'm just doing a couple of straight lines, maybe a few dots. And I'm just going to do that all the way around the sentiments. I'm turning it round so that I'm not leaning right across the card. So now these lines are by no means straight. I've just literally gone in and, you know, they are wonky lines. That's kind of what I want. That's the look I'm going for. I said a few dots in there. I'll do those side pieces in just a minute. For now, I'll just do the long pieces. Again, add some dots. Right, let's turn that round and now do these side bits. Again, I'm doing sort of a doubled line on them. Now you can see those lines, if I just hold that up, they are absolutely not straight. They are quite wonky. I'll try and hold it still for a minute for the camera to focus. They are wonky. There's dots there, you know, some lines are extended a bit too far, but that's what I was going for. You know, it isn't perfect, but, you know, that's the look I want. I said it sort of ties in a little bit with the funky border. Yeah, and then what I would do is just mount that onto a piece of like a card blank. I don't know if I can get to them that easy. Let me just check. Oh, I actually have the card blank, the right one, sticking out. Let me pop them down there. Normally they're like buried and I have to rake through trying to find them. Right, let's get my bone folder out. Now I'm just going to stick this direct onto the card. I'm not going to mount it. Obviously, if you do want, you could mount it if you really wanted to. So just, there we go. Now, is it going to let me stick the whole panel down without clogging? I said it will clog if you leave the lid off or the pin out, whatever you put. I think that's Crafty ones have got little little lids on them. This one doesn't, because I said I've had this in my stash for quite a few years now. So I said you just get a nice thin layer of glue when you use the applicator on a large area. I'm just making sure that's straight before sticking it down. Right, and that's the finished card. I said there's so many ways of using masking fluid, and I said I will try and do a few more demos using it because it is such fabulous stuff. And yeah, I think I'm somebody that likes to create more collage style backgrounds. I wish I had some cards at hand, because I have done quite a few collagey ones where I've stamped a focal piece like this and then stamped sort of texture pieces in the background and pieces like this. I said I'm a great fan of texture stamps, because then you can create backgrounds like that and you can just keep stamping with them. It is great fun. But yeah, there is so much you can do with the masking. It just allows you to do so much more. So I will try and use that a bit more in lives. And I said I'll definitely be using them pencils again in lives and doing a few different techniques with them. I think they are fabulous. But yeah, I think I've managed to read some of your comments as I've been going, but I do apologize if I've missed any. Fab demo, Dina, very informative. Well, thank you for watching. Stunning, thank you. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and I will be back. Now I've got no clue what the dates are. I said I really should look things up, or actually it could be the 18th. I've got a feeling it might be the 18th, because I think I've got something else going on the Wednesday as well in the morning. So yeah, I think I'll be back on the 18th, and I'm sure Jo will be live on Monday in the That's Crafty Creatives group. So do join her. Also, if you do make anything with any products from That's Crafty, please do post it in our group. We love to see all your makes. And if you aren't already on there, please do join, because there's lots of inspirational posts, all the DT posts on a weekly usually sort of we have set days throughout the week that we all post, so there's usually something going on within the group with lots of inspiration and everything, so do join. Yeah, 18th is my next live. I did have it right for a change. I don't often. Jo is live on Monday the 9th in the Creatives group on Facebook. There we go. So they're the dates. Beautiful card. Thanks for the demo, Dina and Laura. Yeah. But yeah, thank you for joining, and yeah, thank you for doing all the links, Laura, and let me do the live again. But yeah, I'll be back again in 2 weeks' time. See you soon. Bye.